Good morning and welcome to Ed's World, where it's always morning, even in the afternoon. I am your host, Jay Edgar, and this episode has been quite a long time coming because I am joined today by one of the first people that got me into Discord for the first time, Jack Stocker. Jack, welcome to Ed's World.
Hi, Jed, that didn't make any sense. I'm gonna call you Jed saying that. It is not, in fact, morning, folks. It is 6:16 p.m. We're a minute late, by the way. I blame this man entirely. He says YouTube, he's crazy. But, nah, I'm messing around. It's great to finally be on. How you doing?
Good. It's always morning, even in the afternoon here. If you were a true Back to the Future fan, you would know that already. Because that is absolutely where I got that from.
No, dude, I will send you a photo later. I actually dressed up as Marty McFly for the day that was in the movie. I don't remember the exact date. That thing, I don't remember those things about movies. I know all of two movie lines, which are "Life is like a box of chocolates" and "Shoot the Glass," which is from Die Hard.
I've actually never seen Die Hard, so
I'm hurt. That's an American. You're a real American. You should have seen Die Hard by now.
yeah, it's always on my list every Christmas, and I never get around to it for whatever reason. I'm always doing a bunch of other stuff. I want to see
It is my
it,
favorite Christmas movie, easily.
and it is a Christmas
Okay, maybe
movie.
not my favorite, but it is. Yeah, it is. It is. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a communist.
Anyway, this is Ed's World. For those of you watching live, if you're new to this show, Jack and I are going to spend the next hour and a half talking about various topics of the news. And in between topics, we will be taking questions from the live chat. So make sure you get those questions in for us to answer. Looks like we're having a little bit of slowdown issues here with the internet, so if the video is choppy, I do apologize for that in advance. But the news stops for nobody, and we do have plenty to get to today. So before we get started, I just want to point something out here, and I had a little bit of fun on Twitter this past week. It was on Saturday. I got home from work, and I was checking Twitter like I always do, and one of the first things that I realized is the fact that yet another person was saying that if we don't surrender our guns, the government is going to come with tanks, and we need to be afraid of tanks. And I thought about what it would take to get a tank from Fort McCoy, which is the closest army base with artillery in Wisconsin, to my front door, and I realized it would be about a 3-hour journey. It would cost about $1.5 million, and that's not including any of the damage that goes to the roadway, because they have to take it out of the interstate. That pesky Third Amendment won't let them cut across people's farm fields. So I'll have a good 3 to 4 hours to prepare, and that's not including what it'll take of warning that I have when they block off traffic to get there, and how much they destroy my neighbor's property to get to my property. But, I mean, yeah, we should all be afraid of tanks, obviously. Did you catch that
tanks
one?
Are the issue. Right. There are like about 3 different major things wrong with that. First off, don't presume that people won't take down a tank. There is going to be some crazy motherfucker out there rocking the Rhodesian short shorts, gonna have stick grenades, gonna hop up, open up a tank, toss that stuff in, and it's just gonna be boogaloo hours. Second, like you said, it's just not, guys, And third, they presume the military will even get involved on their side. That's very presumptuous that the people who decided to go and get involved with guns are going to stand by the people who want to make sure that only a handful of people get involved with guns, ever.
Well, like I always say, and like everyone else always says, if they come to confiscate guns, they're going to send somebody with a 9mm sidearm in an SUV to the front door, and I'm going to tell him politely to fuck off and come back with a warrant. And that's going to be that.
They'll be met with real boogaloo time. I think that's what the result will ever be.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be one of those that starts it immediately, but I think a few people up the list from me might.
I don't own a gun right now, I'll be totally frank. I plan on it. The Yeet Cannon is $200. Buy one. But when the day comes, and when should God forbid anyone actually ever try to, I would not stand for it. I don't stand for it now. I'm actively part of the group that wants the NFA completely and utterly atomized. Just gone.
Completely and utterly atomized. I had to change a setting here. Bear with me for just a second. Because I am coming in way hotter than I want.
Are you adding the science tag?
No, I am coming in way too hot though. I'm watching my own volume levels and I don't want to blow everybody's eardrums out while I'm going here. So let me.
I've had that problem streaming.
You've had that problem streaming, yeah? Additional device properties. Levels. Oh, how did that get all the way up there? That's my problem.
What's the problem?
I unplugged my microphone to do something else earlier on in the week, and it defaulted back to its louder than hell preset. So that is
So
fixed.
that's why you sounded extremely loud earlier.
So that's fixed. So we have got a full show going on today. Looks like we're going to start out talking about the impeachment that wasn't. Some of the news that's come up onto that, and the Fox News poll that shows that 51% of the U.S. wants impeachment and removal. We'll talk a bit about that. Donald Trump had a rally in the area that I grew up in, not too far from there. 20,000 people in the building, 25,000 people outside. Of course, there were protests there, and a certain representative might or might not have even shown her face out there. So we'll talk a bit about that. 2020 is in full swing again. The candidates got involved in an LGBT town hall, and that kind of went a little bit nuts. So we'll talk a bit about that. And because of
All right, now listen, gang. Listen, all right, gang. What you need to understand is, all right. If Beto O'Rourke decides to come to my house, I will have a gun and I will be standing there waiting for him. All right, all 5 feet of me will be. I mean, 5.5. I mean, definitely at least 5.5 feet of me. Be sitting there with my Mosin that is perfectly accurately sized. And oh god, I'm falling over. Oh god.
Yes, and we do have that story on the 2020 watch list as well. So we'll talk a bit about that. China has obviously been taking control of U.S. industry, and since Jack and I are both gamers, we're probably going to focus on Blizzard, but the NBA and South Park have got their toes into that as well.
I also like South Park, so China.
Yeah. Syria, we are having a troop withdrawal, and that is an active situation going on right now, so we'll talk about what we know on the news so far on that, and figure out where we stand on that, and we'll talk a bit about the Joker movie because I haven't seen it yet, but Jack has, so we will figure out what goes from there. It was going to be all of this and more over on Ed's World. Thanks for watching this live over on YouTube. And if you can't catch this live, you can catch it on demand on YouTube or over on BitChute. You can also catch this the next morning every week on Tuesday morning over on the audio platforms. We are on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. If you are on iTunes, make sure you leave us that 5-star rating and a good review. That helps us move up the charts. Ed's World is proudly partnered with the Freedom Scoop Media Group. Our merch shop is open right now, and we've got a few things that we want to share as well. We've got this nice Proud Second Amendment supporter t-shirt. If you want to go and grab one of those, you've got the nice patch over on the front there. Or you have several other things. You can get a Generational Gap t-shirt if that's something that you really want. But anything you buy out of there, make sure you use that promo code JEdgar at checkout. That'll get you an additional 15% off. After a lengthy introduction, one of my favorite parts of the show is to find out about the person who's over to my left. So, Jack, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I hail from the great Democratic People's Republic of Illinois. Been here, born and raised. I'm from the real part of the state, though, nice and far away from Chicago and a more rural part, where the internet is mediocre, the drives are long, and every bar looks the same. Frankly, this is what America probably should more likely resemble when people think of it, rather than the weird urban cities that are shown to us every day in and day out by the media. But at any rate, now I go to college. I go to college at Northern Illinois University. I study political science. Not that I might be even sticking with it. As I mentioned to J. Edgar here, and as the title suggests a little bit, I actually have been kind of taking a split. I still write for the Libertarian Republic. I'm friends with Austin. over there, all that stuff. And I even stream under Stream Liberty, which is TLR's Twitch. But mostly I'm focusing on gaming content right now, and I'm actually looking at grad school for creative production. So we'll see about how that works. I got a couple years to worry about that stuff. But that's me. I've done politics, I've done campaigns, I've been to Yalcon, and I've met like Ron Paul and stuff. So I guess that counts for something.
Well, you are writing for TLR, and you streaming under the TLR nameplate over on Twitch there. So it would be fair to say that you do have some involvement in alternative media there. So how did you decide to get into alternative media?
Well, that's the thing. Alternative media, not only just political, but in general, has been something that's really been interesting to me. I'd say I got into it at a very young age. I watched very early YouTube. I watched YouTube poops when I was way young too. I, heard all kinds of naughty words, all the funny stuff. I remember one had Naruto references, and my little 7-year-old brain was like, oh, "That's so cool! These are all like, it's all kinds of nerding." But from then on, I started to develop more and more of sort of a complex in watching that kind of stuff. I still watch gaming content to this day, and for a time I watched almost exclusively political stuff, though. It was something I did, and I've been a fan of since the 5th grade, but all that stuff funneled into the alt media interest, and that's actually where I plan to work on creative production, and I'd hopefully do something like the next Rooster Teeth or something. Who knows?
Hopefully this will be a good stepping stone to get you up to that direction, at least a good resume builder there.
Yep.
But with all of that in mind, I'm going to check in with the live chat here and just see if there's any questions or comments before we get started. Looks like Ron Helton says that polls say that Hillary was going to win the election, so there's that for reliability. We'll talk
Yeah,
a
I
bit
saw
about that
that.
when we get to 2020 Watch, but let's start out talking about this impeachment boogaloo that keeps going on. Now, one of the first news stories that I saw as soon as I turned the camera off last week when I did my solo podcast for the first time was the fact that now we have a second whistleblower that's coming forward that wants to say that he or she knows something about the call, which doesn't make any sense to me because it's public. We all know what was in the call at this point.
Man, that secret public call is very secret. Don't let the whistleblower. Don't you dare! Don't you dare let that whistleblower get away with releasing the public secrets. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing to me has just been one leap of faith after another. Everyone's trying to go after Trump for some kind of nebulous thing. There's nothing that solidly connects him in any meaningful way to any Russian meddling in the election and his campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, the Democrats are wasting their time. And the further impeachment goes along, the more they're at risk.
Well, that's true too, because I mean there are a lot of shady dealings that have gone on in that party. That, I mean, if you're going to keep the DOJ looking at stuff, they're going to find something.
Well, no, more than that, the issue is politically speaking, there's nothing more destructive than a failed impeachment for the party that is not in the presidency. If that party, if the current shadow party, as it were, basically the lesser of the two, were to lose an impeachment, you're going to see what normally never happens, which is normally during midterms, people or the party that has the presidency and is in power loses seats, like we saw in the midterms.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't happen for Clinton after his impeachment.
No,
When that happens, he gained seats.
Excuse me.
When this happens, Trump will gain seats. Trump, if they try to impeach Trump because they don't have the votes, Trump is guaranteed a second president or a second term for his presidency.
Well, and not only that too, but yeah, like you said, it's the shift out there. He'll get the House back most likely because that statistically is what's going to happen, and possibly get a more ironclad thing in the Senate. But I've looked at this a little bit differently from the point that it started. I don't know if this, because they're not going to have the vote. They've made that point blank clear that they're going to talk about the vote forever, but they're not going to take the impeachment vote. So,
Well, their best bet would be to get the Senate, and that's the thing. They need to secure 5 or 6 seats to get it. I don't I don't think there's that many toss-up seats right
That's
now.
just to get a simple majority. They need to have 67 votes to do a removal.
There's a lot of data that can go into predicting these things, and it's actually surprisingly quite accurate. But as it stands right now, it doesn't pan out as far as them getting the Senate. And if they can't get the Senate at the end of this, then there's no way that if Trump does win, he has a second term.
Mhm.
Whether I like it or not, he will they will have to face the facts that they don't have a Senate, they can't get any vote, and for the rest of his presidency, he remains unimpeached. Do they still try?
Well, and see, the thing about the last time that we had the impeachment, too, is, I mean, if we have it this time, at least, half the crowd, the MAGA faithful, the religious MAGA people, are going to win. There's going to be
Yeah.
a winner out of this. When Clinton got impeached, nobody won because, yeah, we got some more neocons over in the House and in the Senate because of the outrage with the impeachment process. But the other side of that is, after that, we got a Bush in the White House again. More war.
But yeah, so there was no real good side to having
Yeah,
Clinton
nobody won
because
that.
I don't know why Republicans thought that it was a good idea. Even that's the fun part too. My father, who was a diehard Republican, who bought the junk and actually thought that Clinton was bad, looking back on now, sees that he was just lying to himself. It's stupid. It's not right. And I think that everyone looking back sees that. And even then, you had to be real diehard not to look through it and see that, hey, the getting people on social tertiary issues, on like ancillary nonsense, is nothing. You can't impeach someone on that. It has to be meaningful political corruption, something like Nixon, like where you can actually go to them and say they have the votes. Time to step out. Get out of here.
I've been reading the Nixon case lately and a little bit more closely, kind of looking at it through a more legal eye and less through what they teach us in school. I don't think they had the case to get him out.
Oh, that's the issue.
Yeah.
If you think it's a legal case for impeachment,
Yeah.
then you're not thinking about impeachment. You're thinking about a court case.
Yeah.
Impeachment isn't a judicial process. It's purely political.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but I don't know that they had the 67 votes to get him out.
I think they could. I think they did.
I think it was pretty close, but I don't think they quite had it.
No, because when people found out, then it was game over. The media spread it like a wildfire. You would have been stupid not to do it, and anyone who did would have been nothing short of guaranteed destruction, because this was actually an instance where there in history, in like U.S. history, there are a certain number of events that happen that aren't part of like the 40-year shift of political dynasties,
Mhm.
and those couple of things just jolt up everything in the system. A couple of examples would be the Civil War or the creation of a lot of labor rights during I would say, a lot of the progressive revolution of the early 20th century. The biggest recent one was definitely Watergate. Ever since,
true.
Americans have never been as trustful of government.
Well, there's no downside to that by any means.
Oh, I'm all for it. I hate trusting government. I'm a libertarian. But I think that change means that things have been entirely different since, and that the outrage was a lot stronger than you or I, as people who weren't part of that time frame,
Mhm.
can truly comprehend.
Well, and I know with Clinton too, they actually had a legal high crime misdemeanor that they were levying against him. But I look back because I'm old enough to remember what was actually going on with the Clinton impeachment. That was actually, when I was to that age where I was starting to learn what oral sex was, what actually was going on in the White House, what he was actually doing. And that was all that they talked about. They never talked, Rush Limbaugh said it perfectly. They never talked about the fact that that was a perjury trial. It was the stuffed shirts Republicans, rather, in Congress that were so mad that Bill Clinton was going and having fun with a woman that wasn't his wife, is what was presented to us, the people. We weren't watching a perjury trial.
No, but at the same time, that also comes down to the politics of it. it's the perjury trial is one thing. The biggest issue is that an impeachable offense? Is something like that in an issue unrelated to the presidency? Is that disqualifying of someone from the office of the presidency? And if so, how many presidents have probably lied before Congress at that point and considered the ramifications of it? It all comes down to, or lied to an agent. And there's all kinds of. I doubt that you can at least go back any number of presidents. Probably one has lied to a federal agent at least once.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to say. We know how people in politics are. The biggest issue is whether or not that was justified. I don't think it was. I think that you can't impeach a man for something like that. It has to be a serious political corruption issue or a treason issue. Like if, say, a certain president were to, I don't know, sell, sell, say, maybe nuclear materials to Russia in exchange for just money towards his foundation. Maybe that might be something to get someone on.
Hey! All I hear is 8 years of scandal free. I won't have such blasphemy on the show.
Oh, speaking of 8 years scandal free, the last guy. Let's not even Don't worry, nothing on him either. Nothing, nada, nothing either about his vice president.
Yeah, 8 years scandal free.
8 years.
I am actually a bit impressed, though, watching this situation because as much as we all know what they're going to do once they get together to do it and decide to do it, I mean, they don't need to have an investigation to do what they're planning to do, but they're making it seem like they're actually going to have an investigation. The House of Representatives has put out its first round of subpoenas to try and get people from the administration to come and talk to the House of Representatives to try and question them and throw things at them. So they're actually going to put a process to this. And, I've gone on Twitter to talk to representatives who are complaining about the fact that he should be impeached now. I said, hold the vote. Screw the investigation. We all know what you're going to do, and we all know that you're going to hear what you want to hear, so just hold the vote. But
I don't just not even like they're not going to find anything. It was nonsense. They're not. There's nothing there.
No, I understand that, but yeah, they're at least trying to put the process out there. But the thing that came out of this was the White House, once they got the subpoenas out, sent the letter back saying, no, we are not going to cooperate with you. You're not letting us cross-examine the witness. You're not letting us talk to the witness, get any sort of information on who is laying the accusation. So you're not conducting a fair trial or anything like that. We're not going to cooperate. Did you see anything on this, or?
I haven't, but there you go. I mean, at this point, I'm just gonna get out the popcorn.
Yeah, I'm actually quite excited to see this, and especially somebody who sits on this side of the camera for all of this and talks about it. My scripts are written for the next 3 weeks at a time, easily.
Exactly. But I'll offer this bit of information. So, one of my professors at NIU is the department head. He is identified as a populist. Now, that's along the. People are confused enough as it is, and people say like liberal when they mean it in the philosophical sense and the political sense. There's another called like the political science terminology. Mm-hmm. Basically, you have individualists versus populists.
Okay.
And that's the left-right axis. So this guy's pretty far to the left. He's got a hard libertarian streak thrown in him with each passing year, basically. But, further to the left. He's the guy that kind of roots for Democrats more, and he's seeing this and is just like, yeah, it's not going to end well. And when someone like that's telling you it's not going to end well, it's not. This isn't going anywhere. There's no wind in their sails.
Now,
and there's not going to be a magical gust from nowhere.
Now, given the fact that you say that there's no wind in the sail, and I mean, we see politics from a certain side of it because we support some of the people that are in the White House. I mean, the Donald is a hit or miss for me. I'm not going to lie about that, but I do support his freshman politics policy and the fact that he makes it okay for the rest of us to run. But according to Vox, they put out the fact that there was a Fox News poll out that showed that 50% of the United States wants impeachment or removal, and a Washington Post actually put out another poll that showed an even higher number. The Washington Post put out a poll that showed that 53% of Americans want the impeachment. Now, the first thing I did when I saw this poll, well, I haven't seen the Fox News poll actually, I just heard the headlines on it. But I looked closer at the Washington Post poll, and all they did was they polled, I think it was 1,008 people.
I don't know. I don't know. Sounds a little questionable to me. I don't think that sounds right. I don't. There's not a case here. I don't, the only logical explanation for this is that there's two.
Mhm.
They're lying, or they found some way to exclusively poll the people who watch The Big Bang Theory.
I like that. The Big Bang Theory.
I can't think of any other possible conclusion to this scenario. So, take your pick.
Well, the Fox News one actually surprised me just a little bit because as
You see, and
far
that's
left
what
as
got
Fox
me to
News,
the whole thing with Big Bang Theory.
yeah, because as far left as Fox News has gone, they still try to tout themselves as a right-wing network. But the Washington Post poll, from what I can think about that, and that actually spells out something worse, it was 1,008 people that didn't hang up when they found out that the Washington Post was on the other end of the line.
Got me there, yeah.
And only 54% of the people that didn't hang up when they found out that the Washington Post was on the other line support impeachment and removal. So, I mean, it's cherry picking is all it is. They sample the way that they want to sample, and they try and show what it. Let's go back and look at what polls showed back in 2016, Madam President. 96%.
Yeah, no, I think that it's blatantly false. It's cherry picked. There's probably some kind of bias to how the data's picked. I can't say that sounds like it makes sense to me. No logical person will look at that and say, yeah, impeachment makes sense. I don't know.
I want them to get the vote over with. I'm not going to lie. Just take the
Yeah,
vote, let the trial go through the Senate, and then go back to representing the people that elected you to represent them.
It's funny. We're having basically the exact opposite situation the UK is right now with Brexit. The last thing that the people on the right in Brexit want anything to do right now is actual deliberation in Parliament. They want to have Parliament hang till things can get as far along as possible. And then here we are, trying to force the impeachment vote just so that way it'll be done with already.
I mean, these taxpayers in these blue states are paying a lot of money for these people to make laws, try and allocate money, talk about interstate commerce, have military. And all
To be
they're
fair,
talking
we
about
can't
is
complain when the man we're defending has spent a lot of money on his golf trips.
so did
a
Barack.
lot.
I don't
A
understand
lot.
where they're getting that money from. I'm not going to lie. He owns the golf course. Why is he paying so much for it?
I don't know. I honestly had no clue, but I felt like the meme was worth it.
Yeah, it was. Well, let's check in with the live chat here, and then we'll talk about the rally in Minnesota here. So, I've got Ron Helton over here. Says he saw Clinton's impeachment as a perjury trial. He lied. All he had to do was say no comment. Strange that Bush lied to us into war and is still at large. Yeah.
No. We should never leave the Middle East, guys. It's great. The weather's great over there. The culture is enriching, and we're enriching it. And the oil. Wait, what about oil enrichment? You don't worry about the oil. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Basically.
Well, I look at this and I look at the general public's opinion of the war in the Middle East, and I don't see anything about oil. All I see is Jesus, because if we let these countries run free, they might go after Israel.
Oh no! Well, clearly we need to just fight them eternally then. That is the answer.
That seems to be what's going on with it.
What, do you not want to defend Israel? They're our greatest ally, all right?
Yes, and they've also got one of the best missile defense systems in the world. They have a better missile defense system than we do.
Yeah, but they're our greatest ally. You need to understand how badly we need to defend Israel, okay?
Oh, he's gonna put the Shapiro voice back on.
We need to defend Israel.
Before we get too deep into that, let's talk about this rally in Minnesota. Now, this is only about an hour from where I grew up, so, and I do, it's funny to see the shift in dynamics between Democrat and Republican, and I've talked about the fact. Well, I've talked about it on Twitter, and I've talked on the phone to people about this. The fact that the Republicans are suddenly the party that want everybody out of the Middle East and out of war, and the Democrats are trying to keep us in war. But the other side
Funny
of
how that
that,
works out.
the other side of that I'm seeing is the fact that the union vote is turning more Republican, and the Republicans are being more for the workers and less for the big, rich, fat cats, like they were when I was growing up. So we had this rally in Minnesota, which is a heavily blue state. It was the only state that went for Walter Mondale in 1984. It's a very union centric state. The rally was in Minneapolis at the Target Center, where the Minnesota Timberwolves play, as a side note there. And they had 20,000 people rather in the building for the rally, 25,000 people outside the building for the rally. Now, I was listening to Limbaugh this morning because I do try and get some of the mega far right news out of that every once in a while, and he had a caller call in and say that while the guy was standing in line to get into the rally, where there were 20,000 people in and 25,000 people out, he got a text message from somebody saying, "Oh, well, looks like Trump's rally was a flop. There's nobody showing up."
Boy. People are they're just gonna say what they want to say. Simple as that. As far as the rally numbers, I've never been one to honestly care. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that rally numbers are a good way to look at things. I mean, beyond general success in a campaign, yeah, but from the sidelines looking at it, it's never been something where necessarily it's seen as like it is important. It is incredibly important. I just don't look at it.
Right.
But these things are good. Every day-to-day little discussions, the kissing babies on the forehead, shaking hands kind of stuff. That's how you change people's minds. It goes from being all, I don't like that Obama guy. He's kind of a weird feller to, maybe this Obama guy ain't so bad after all. Stuff like that. That's the kind of mindset change that you can expect, and it works. Then people are going to try and downplay it, and that's going to be their downfall more than anything else.
Well, and I look at too some of the like the figures in politics, like Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders is another one that comes up here, and I look at their rallies and all these people gathered in, packed in to hear a person talk, rather than somebody walking up to you and explaining one on one what they're going to do for you, and all I see is Joel Osteen. It seems to be it's more of a religious experience for some of these people, and that's on both sides. They pack the they pack the stadium. They chant. They listen to a person. It is strange for me to watch, especially coming into politics. Politics should be completely out of our lives.
You see, well, actually, I do think there is some good in seeing them. I don't think that you're ever going to have a meaningful discussion meeting your president. I don't think you're going to have find the time for that, unless you're that one person who wins the Facebook ad that says 1 in 600 people get to have dinner with Trump if they buy this stupid shirt. But when it does matter is when people don't do, which is their state rep, their state senator, their regular senator or a regular representative might be a good person to go and talk to.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the strength is. And I think that that's where people should be going. But even then, if we're going to, if you, from a politically strategic standpoint, stuff works. So I guess presidents have to keep doing it. And I've gone to all of one rally, and it was from Mike Pence, and it was weird and kind of mediocre. Those things are kind of not my cup of tea. I think that the conventions or the conferences are more up my alley.
I mean, yeah, if I'm going to pay all that money to go sit in a stadium packed with a bunch of people, Aaron
Well, it was
Rodgers better
free.
be down in the middle of the field.
Yeah. Well, for my thing is that, like I went to the Midwest Regional Conference for Turning Point like a year and a half or whatever ago. And you know what I got to do? I got to have a one-on-one discussion about Nintendo Switch games with Dave Rubin after his speaking event. That was pretty cool. Got photos with him. My buddy Kiwi took a photo, and my buddy Kiwi is well, he's part of the B's and the L's, the G's, the B's, and the T's,
Hmm.
and so he fangirled out a bit on meeting Dave Rubin. So it was fun. I also gave him a hard time right in front of him, but that's just what friends do. But stuff like that's the fun stuff. Yeah, you can meet all kinds of people doing that,
Yeah.
and even Yal does it, but you don't get to meet the people as much.
Well, you can't have a good rally without a good counter rally in this country anymore, and Antifa showed up over in Minneapolis, as they always do in very blue areas. But the funny part of that is that the police were ordered to stand down and not engage anybody who was being violent during any of these rallies. In fact, inside, we're we've got to stop here. Oh no, I think I know what's coming.
Stand for the workers' rights! Stand for the workers' rights! Stand for workers now, but Antifa, what about those clowns?
Well, they always show up in the blue states, but the police were ordered to stand down for anything that Antifa would have done out in the streets, including stealing hats and shirts from Trump supporters and burning them on the streets, assaulting and spitting on Trump supporters. All the police were ordered to stand down by the mayor of Minneapolis. In fact, the police that were present in the Target Center during the rally were also ordered not to be in uniform. They were in red shirts to mark that they were police, but they were ordered into a box that was far away from everybody else and in plain clothes, because having the police at such an event might cause a panic. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's dumb. They should have had police.
Well, yeah, anytime there's a crowd of anything, you should always have police. I mean, I was in Boston when the Red Sox won the '07 World Series, and there were cars burning. Every time people are celebrating, something seems to happen, whatnot, and you should always have an officer of the law there to either assist, get an ambulance there, to arrest somebody who's being belligerent, or just make sure that the peace is being kept.
You know, I was doing a campaign, and I was in Kansas City.
Hmm.
And while I was there, I was wearing a "Don't Tread on Me" Gadsden flag shirt.
Hmm.
And I was informed via our group chat that there was an Antifa protest moving block to block adjacent to us. I suddenly liked police a lot more than went and hid in my car. There should have been police. If there's Antifa involved, the word police needs to be in any government documents relating to it, especially on police procedures on how to deal with Antifa. I recommend Mace. Mace works pretty well.
Well, yeah, and they keep their eyes uncovered, so.
But yeah, and they do try to, they've got like milk and magnesium or whatever they want to use to try and, get rid of it and help get the pain lessened. But I think it's going to have its same effect either way. I think it's about time we started putting our foot down on Antifa, because they need to stop being an issue. I don't think it's at all unreasonable to just kind of like, you don't have to actively stop them, but when they cross a line, that's when you start going at it. You start going at it.
Well, interestingly enough, the police were ordered to stand down in case, just in case anybody important were to show up there. And it is rumored now at this point that a certain representative may have been present in the Antifa crowd. Pictured on the screen here is a picture that was taken during the Antifa rally outside of the Trump rally of a woman in a hood and a mask, and somebody else has superimposed alongside of that a picture of representative of that particular district, by the way, Ilhan Omar. And I could see it.
You see, like, I've seen this, and I'm like,
I can't
I
say yes or
could.
no, but I could see it.
Yeah, I can't say with any level of certainty at all. For me, it's just a matter of extraordinary claims and extraordinary proof. But I like to think that that's what happened, and maybe that's why the police were not as active. That's a funny thing to think about. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I've got the picture up on the screen right now for anybody who's watching at home. If you're catching this back on the audio stream, it is just a side by side. They're kind of facing away from each other, but the resemblance is a bit uncanny, I guess. It doesn't pass
The worst
reasonable
part is
doubt to me.
either way, it's getting her bad side somehow. That's the
Yeah,
weird part.
it doesn't pass reasonable doubt for me, but it is something to definitely think about.
Yeah.
So that happened there. I don't know if this boosts Trump's chances or not. I know that they talked about him going up on the stage and saying that the only thing Biden did well during Obama's presidency was kiss Barack's ass.
I love that.
Yeah.
See, there are moments where I love that man. It's when he says stuff like that. I can I gotta respect that burn.
It's not really a
Yeah.
burn if it's true, because that is essentially what he did for 8 years over there.
No, it is basically true, but it is a burn. I mean, let's be honest. It's just him saying, "Yeah, no, you, my friend, are functionally useless. And all you did was sit there, smile, and wave like a penguin."
Rubbing Barack's shoulders when he needed it, sniffing his hair.
And people don't even realize this was the same man responsible for the assault weapons ban.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Frankly, getting him out of the Senate was the greatest thing Barack Obama ever did for America.
Well, technically, he still presided over the Senate, but yes, he didn't have an actual physical Senate vote.
He wasn't the Senate anymore.
Well, we are starting to move into 2020 watch territory. I'll check it back with the live chat. Uh, Ron Helton had a comment for you. He says, Israel can fend for itself, ally, in quotation marks.
Yeah.
And he also said that he has yet to see a Trump rally that is not packed with people. So, yeah, I've yet to see one too. So, wow, I can't believe the live feed is that far behind. I'm looking back at just seeing how
Yeah,
far back
I'm
we
looking
are.
at it right now.
We still have the picture of Ilhan Omar up, and I took that down a while ago.
Oh, not for me.
Oh.
Yeah, you shouldn't be running your live feed while you're uploading to that. That might not help.
Yeah, well, that's the only way I can see the chat, so. Let's talk about 2020, because we always talk about this on the show, and we've got a lot to get through on this one. This is actually one of the longer 2020 segments I've ever come up with. And we've even, because we talked
And
about it
we
off-
might have to blitz rush through it. I do have to go cook dinner after this.
Okay. Well, and
So
then
this
we
is
added
going
the
to
one
probably
thing.
be close to the target time.
Yeah. We added the one little thing on there that wasn't in the show notes, but we talked about it a bit off mic. So, you want to lead us into that, the Shapiro Beto thing?
Yeah, so they had their entire LGBT town hall, and according to a nice little article done by Caleb Shumate over on TLR, Ben Shapiro said he will meet Beto O'Rourke at the door with a gun if he pushes for an LGBTQ mandate for education. Basically, he was saying that education that is very much like pro-LGBT, kind of stuff that religious people like Ben don't like, which I don't mind, but freedom, that would have to be enforced across the line. And he said that if that ever comes to pass and Beto tries to come and take his kid and do that kind of stuff, it's gun time. And well, I guess that's how Ben is deciding to think and act today. Is our
pesky little active Jewish man here going at it from LA? Is he getting a bit of a braggart going on right now? Now maybe. I think so, gang.
Still not as good as Seamus's impression, even then.
No, that is really good, actually, when Seamus does that.
Yeah, Seamus's impression is well beyond mine because frankly, he can not only can he shrink together logical sentences that are effectively able to really mimic the bench press style much better than I can. But to basically put it up, Ben is talking big, which is he's fine to do. Frankly, I appreciate it, respect it, and would probably follow suit. But I don't own a gun yet.
Well, and that's what we were talking about at the beginning of this show too. It's the fact that
Yeah.
small uprisings do great things. A lot of people say that the military might is going to take everything down, and we're going to wet ourselves and surrender if the tanks come in. Yeah, tell that to the Viet Cong. Tell that to Afghanistan, who has been holding off the U.S. military with small arms for 20 years.
Tell that to the guys using outdated hunting muskets and blunderbusses that took on basically one of the world's strongest military forces back in 1776.
Absolutely. So, yeah,
This country is founded on guerrilla warfare tactics, let's be honest.
yeah. Small arms do great things, especially against great militaries, and no matter how much equipment that you have, there's always going to be collateral damage and other factors you have to do for logistics to try and make it happen. Large artillery is useful for large artillery. If you're trying to keep a citizenry down, small arms is the only way you can go.
Yeah, and like I said, good luck getting the military on board. The military probably already has plans to take down the urban areas as we speak. Let's be honest. At this point, they're just waiting for their own excuse to boogaloo.
But let's go back and talk about this LGBT rally a little bit more. I know we got the one big story out of the way here, but there were other presidential candidates in it. I think it was Warren, Biden, Beto, and Kamala. I know for sure were all there, and I think a few others showed up for it. But those were the ones that made the headlines. I did not sit and watch this town hall.
I didn't either.
I don't have 7 hours to sit and watch CNN pander.
I don't have any time to watch CNN pander.
I
Honestly,
I would
I
give
was
them a
better
half
off
hour.
enjoying my weekend and going to go see Joker. But the biggest issue I would say is just that from what we can tell alone, there's a lot of pushing towards trying to get that education mandate going, and I think that's dangerous. Well, people are very accepting now, very. Even I don't care. I don't think that they're going to have a positive reaction to that at all.
Well, Elizabeth Warren made some waves during this. One of the first things that came out of this story was the fact that somebody asked her what to do about the people that, if people want to be traditionally married, if that's what they want, then are they going to be free to do this in this new mandate that they want in? She said that if any man just wants to be traditionally married, which she assumed that this was all white Christian men that were bringing up this issue, then surely he can go and marry a woman if he wants to. And then she followed that up with a little sting at the end of, if you can find a woman, insisting the fact that these cavemen, I'm guessing is how she would describe them, would never be appealing to a woman in middle America where they all live. What did you see on this?
As far as I didn't see anything. I have, like I said, I've been out of the loop, and even now especially so. But my thoughts on that especially would be, well, Lizzie, let's be honest, sweetie. Your insults don't matter to people that don't care. At the end of the day, you do realize that forcing places to accept people is not right. This has been going on and people think it's okay and it's not. You shouldn't be forcing churches to accept any of that kind of stuff if they don't want to, but allow places to open it up at the same time. And this just shouldn't be a government issue. The fact that people think that it's a government issue and the fact that people are asking her to the point where she can make these stupid remarks on these stupid issues is stupid. She's stupid for encouraging it. The reality should be that the government has no hands on marriage. The only reason it matters is for tax reasons. And if you need to keep that, which we shouldn't, comprehensive tax plans are stupid, then you're just asking for disaster, frankly.
Well, and the tax plan came about during a time when it was socially unacceptable to have a child out of wedlock, which, I mean, I would
Yeah.
still be okay with that at this point. I'm not going to lie about that. But we can move on and accept the fact that it's become less socially unacceptable to do so. And the point of pushing people to get married, it would be so they would go and have children. It was the government showing that they had stake in the next generation. They were encouraging people to go on and procreate. That was why the government was
Do you
putting
have
that.
something on in the background? By the way, I can hear it.
You had a little beep here and there.
No, I can hear like I can hear something speaking in the background. Yeah, it's from you. Yep, it's from you.
That's my neighbor. Somebody's got a TV
Ah.
on way too loud.
Nice. That's what that was. I was wondering, 'cause, like, it honestly, it got really loud at one point all of a sudden for some reason, and that's when my train of thought just died all of a sudden. Sorry, like, that honestly was the most distracting thing on planet Earth.
Yeah.
But
The
back to
carbon
this, it's
monoxide
just-
detector is right outside my front door too, and that's been going off all day.
Ooh, that's fun.
A chirp
Yeah.
every 45 seconds.
Look, can we just let people live the way they want to live? Can we just do that? Is that an option? Can we just be live and let live?
Well, that goes on to the other question that Elizabeth Warren fielded that made headlines. Now, a 9-year-old transgender boy, if I get that right, yes, a girl that believes that she is a boy at 9 years old, came forward in a nice little suit with her mom behind her and asked, scripted in front of her, what Elizabeth Warren was going to do to make sure that he felt safe in school and could focus on studying rather than being bullied for being transgendered.
I'm sorry. Are you saying that this is like real? Because frankly, that sounds like a joke. You can't be transgendered, like you honestly just at some point between the ages of like say 11 and 15, you might start developing a bit of that kind of brain. I don't know. It might even be earlier.
Mhm.
There are severe ramifications with transgenderism and anything before the age of 18. That kind of stuff should be handled with the utmost care, if at all, because frankly, maybe it's a better thing to maybe let people just kind of like go with the flow until they're 18 and adults for the sake of their safety, because they're idiots who aren't capable of thinking, not because they're any type of denomination of the L's, the G's, the B's, or the T's. It's because they're kids. These are kids we're talking about. Kids are stupid. I was a kid once. When I was a kid, I was stupid. Right? I chased my friends around town and we would prank each other's cars, stuff like that. You're not willing to make an irreversible decision. You're not mentally all there at that age to make that kind of important decision.
Mhm.
So this should not be humored.
Well, you look at it too. I mean, it's not a joke. I saw the kid. I couldn't tell. Well, obviously at 9 years old, I couldn't tell which gender the kid was. But I mean, you see a decently well-dressed 9-year-old kid. Looks like a boy, but before you're 13, who can tell the difference, really?
And who can tell the difference? But even then, like I just don't think that's healthy at that age.
No.
I think it's better if you like dress them towards the middle. That's perfectly fine. If maybe these are things you suspect that they have gender dysphoria, but there's a lot of safety that needs, and ironic, or rather as unexpectedly as might be, to handle kids, you need kid gloves. You need to take things with a high level of safety because, frankly, if not, it's child abuse, especially if it's the irreversible kind of stuff. If it's the reversible stuff, like, it's weird, and I think that maybe you shouldn't do that until they're 18, or maybe, like, until high school, and then say, you can do all the things that are non-reversible, and then when you're 18, do it. But there needs to be a clear line at a certain point where parents have to take over and for the sake of their kids' safety, be responsible. And they don't want to do that. They want to be political instead.
All right. Well, one last thing I want to touch on before we go on to the other parts of 2020 is just a little quick hitter that I have here. So when all of this was going out, Kamala Harris, without being asked, walked out onto the stage and said, "My name is Senator Kamala Harris, and my pronouns are she, her." And Chris Cuomo, in ever wisdom, popped up as soon as she said that and said, "Oh, mine too." Take from that what you will. I don't know if he was openly mocking her. Well, she, I guess.
Oh, little Chris. Here.
Fredo Cuomo strikes again.
You know he's related to the governor, right? That dude, he's related to the governor.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. You're not being
Dude on
asked. We
TV.
all know that you're a woman. You're identifying as a woman. You don't have to put it out there. You don't have to put it out there anyway. But yeah, that was just a pander fest right there. The fact that she came out and did that.
Cringy. I just think it's cringy.
Yeah. So there's that. Let's look at some of the other things that are going on in 2020 here. Looks like Bernie is canceling some of his tour dates. Which, after you have a heart attack, I can't imagine that you wouldn't do
that's
that.
not a heart attack. They were just palpitations.
This campaign came out late in the day on a Friday when nobody was paying attention and said, yes, it was a heart attack.
No, it wasn't a heart attack. I am perfectly healthy. Bernie Sanders is a perfectly healthy person who has no problems whatsoever. I'm fine. No, just more palpitations. I'm good. Can someone give me my pudding cup?
The debate is tomorrow. Do you think he makes it?
He's not gonna make it. He needs.
He swore up and down that he was going to, but I mean, it's tomorrow. This is 2 weeks after you had a major heart attack.
I mean this with all sincerity when I say that he is running for president, and that is one of the most demanding things to ever do in politics, and he shouldn't be right now. He is not in that condition. He's not. I don't think that it would be safe for him to continue. Or maybe it would be. Maybe he can manage it, but I would honestly be concerned at that point. I think that he's going to have plenty of issues now, even still because of these health issues, because people are going to see him as weak. You can't have health issues when you're running for the presidency. But my God, it's the only office where it's the exact opposite case where you have to be healthy. Normally, you just have to be alive, and they'll elect you anyway.
Well, I mean, you're 78 years old. Retire. Spend some time with the great-grandkids. Live in one of your 3 houses.
Don't forget about his fancy car.
Yeah.
They're driving that around.
Well, recover before you do that, because, I mean, we don't want to see you get wrecked in that and get killed that way. Because you had a seizure, because you were having a heart attack and died because of it.
Yeah, that would be unfortunate.
Just take the time off.
Take a break.
You've served well. You haven't got anything done in the Senate anyway. Nothing's going to change.
Marx would be proud.
Marx would be proud. Take the time off.
The Catholic Church would be proud.
But you know who is making it into the next debate? Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi!
And she is going to attend. She put out the statement today that she's going to be in attendance after stating that she was going to boycott the debate. Now, I had a little bit of tinfoil when I heard this the first time, when she first said she was going to be boycotting, because I thought to myself, they've done everything they can to try and keep her away from Elizabeth Warren after she royally shredded Kamala Harris up on the stage. So I couldn't believe that she was either pressured by the Democrat Party or bribed, one way or the other, the carrot or the stick, to not show up and just make it look like she's taking a stand for everything. But as of today, she is officially going to be in the debate.
Well, let's hopefully see her destroy more of the Democrats and rise in popularity. I think that if somehow she had a breakaway success, which I don't think she will, that would be wonderful. That having her would probably be our best case scenario, and I don't necessarily even particularly like Tulsi Gabbard, which frankly tells you where the Democratic Party is heading.
I've invited her on the show before.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, it didn't go.
She went on Dave Rubin.
Yeah, I know that.
Credit to her. I would not have expected her to do that. The danger of legitimization, as it were, or something.
Warren I got one more piece on Warren here before we get out of here. Warren is now going around on her campaign stops and saying that she was fired from a teaching position because she was visibly pregnant by the time she came out of this. And that wouldn't be bad. I mean, given the time that she grew up in, that actually probably could work for her, except for the fact that she's already on record from years prior saying that she quit on her own volition, and in fact, the school
She was underqualified.
Well, she was underqualified, but they gave her an emergency pass. They invited her back to keep working there. And the school is on record saying is with regrets that they let her go.
That sounds a little fishy. Oh, gee there, Kimasabi. Seems like a couple of things aren't adding up.
I mean, you're already caught in one of the biggest lies in politics of this election cycle. I mean, we can't say one of the biggest lies in politics because we've got 40 years of other stuff to work with, but of this election cycle...
Well, I mean, we've got more than 40. We've got plenty of decades of all kinds of nasty stuff, but he's like one of the more important lies of any single member of the Senate right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you got one of the most prestigious teaching jobs in the world.
On a lie.
On a lie. And now you're going to try and use another lie to try and become the leader of the free world.
On a lie.
On a lie. So. And yet she is leading the polls right now. Which makes absolutely no sense to me. Well, who else do they have really at this point?
No, I have an answer. It's called Democrats.
Yeah, that's true.
Uh...
Not this coming Monday, but the one after that. I actually have one of my, because I lived in just outside of Boston for 2 years. One of my friends from out there is actually going to come on the show, and that's somebody who is in Elizabeth Warren's state. So I'm really eager to actually get that conversation going, just to see how somebody from in-state sees her.
Well, I should see my buddy John will hop on. He's a professor over in New York, and he's from Vermont. So he's left wing. So I think you and him would have plenty of fun talks.
Absolutely. Any left winger is invited on the show anytime.
I'm gonna yell at him sometime. I'm gonna yell at him and see if he'll hop on.
So when I end this segment every time, I always ask the same 3 questions of my guest. So, first question, based on the statistics that you've seen this week and the trends that you've seen coming into this week, who do you think is going to be the Democrat nominee?
I don't know. I've honestly, I haven't had a stance on this. I don't think that there's any good way to tell. I think that 6 months is several political lifetimes. You can't predict these kinds of things in the long term.
Yeah, I've had a chain of people that said Biden too, and now he's coming out of this, so it's in the air right now. It really is. I can name some people that aren't going to be it, but who it's going to be.
Yeah, it's easier to name who isn't going to win.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Yang.
Yeah. He started a business. Did you know that?
Ooh. He's a businessman, that man, huh?
All right. Next question is. If you had to have one of the candidates that is currently running, not anybody that's dropped out or anything, but one of the candidates from the Democrat Party as the president, because, I don't know, Trump stroked out and Pence couldn't get it done by the end of the election cycle, which one of the 23 is the lesser of 23 evils?
Well, you see, that there are 2 options, I would say. One option is the collapsitarian in me that wants Andrew Yang in office just to see everything fall apart gloriously while I wear Joker paint and dye my hair green and walk around the city. The second option would be Tulsi Gabbard, who is, I would say, the least terrible candidate, like I said earlier.
Yeah, I kind of figured you were going to go with that because I caught you saying that earlier.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, and this is always just for the laughs. This isn't for statistics. This isn't for policy. Just for the laughs, who do you want to see on the debate stage next to the Donald come next September?
Aren't I already getting Joe Walsh? I mean, he's kind of he's a character. It's gonna be funny. Those two up against each other is gonna be. We're gonna need a lot of alcohol for that one. And I don't even drink.
Well, life's been good to him so far, so.
Oh, well, with a head of hair like that.
All right, let's check back in with the live chat, and then we'll talk about Blizzard in China.
But don't the Jews still use the
Oh.
biblical calendar? I know
Oh,
Passover.
we've got
Gosh, your neighbor hates you.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something after this, but this is live right
You
now.
might want
so
to
I'm
move
not-
to push to talk at this stage.
Yeah, I don't know how to set that up. Otherwise, I will. This is live, so I've already done some on-air production onto this.
What software do you use?
OBS,
OBS or Streamlabs?
OBS, OBS proper.
Ah, you Streamlabs. I'm pretty sure they have a push talk.
All right. Ron Helton says he enjoys Seamus and Freedom Tunes, which is good. So do I. Large military equipment makes great targets. The current crop of Democrats never ceases to amaze me with their idiotic ideas and comments. We don't need two political parties if all elected officials are bound to obey and follow the Constitution. I highly disagree with that. Ron Helton hears the voices. Yep. Yeah, that's... I don't know which neighbor it is. I think I know which one it is, but yeah, they've got their TV on way too loud. It's time to buy, folks. Nobody should be promoting or supporting transgender and children. That should be considered child abuse. Jay Fry wants to know where his wrench is. You'll be a Caps Nazi, otherwise I would.
Jay Fry, it's at the top of the Empire State Building. You have 6 hours. Start running.
Ron Helton says Bernie is toast. Tulsi Gabbard is the dark horse. I could see that. Warren is Clinton clone Liars Club. Warren is leading the polls because some Nimrods think it's time for a woman to be president. Yeah. And then he went down through the list of people who will not be the nominee because we said that. Sanders, Yang, Booker, Biden, Harris will not be the nominee.
Not Harris, Haria.
Hurry, yeah. Well, he corrected himself. We'll give him.
No,
him
then
that
he
one.
said Harris. But we got to say Haria first.
Hurry, sounds like Sharia. We'll be talking about that in just a bit here.
Or diarrhea.
Well, that goes that way too. All right, let's talk
Isn't
about
that what comes out of Harris's mouth?
kind of. Let's talk about Blizzard. Now, Blitzchung was doing very well in the Hearthstone tournament last Sunday. I looked at the standings when I did the solo video on it. He was in like third or fourth. He had about $3,000 worth of winnings in U.S. dollars that were sitting there waiting for him. And he went on and had an interview with two Taiwanese interviewers, and he showed up in the gas mask, which is usually a show of solidarity with the Hong Kong protests there. And he said the words, he said it in standard Chinese, not Cantonese. Liberate Hong
Mandarin.
Kong. He did say it in Mandarin? I thought he said it in Chinese.
Chinese is Mandarin.
I'll cede your knowledge on that one. Liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our times, in which both the interviewers ducked out of the scene right away, anticipating the fact that he was going to say that. And then they came up and abruptly ended the interview. Now, Blizzard turned around and suspended Blitzchung for 1 year for tournament play and confiscated his winnings for doing that. And the last I knew, both of the interviewers that were involved in that were also fired on the spot for the fact that they were involved with this. Now, Blizzard is a
Rip
U.S.
those
based
guys.
What's that?
Rip those guys. They did nothing wrong.
No, that they didn't. Now, the Irvine, California-based company now is walking back the suspension. They're cutting the suspension down in half. They are still keeping the winnings. No word on whether or not the interviewers have been reinstated at this point. But what does this mean for U.S. companies and how they appease to China? Because we've got a couple other things that have happened as well that have dealt with China. So what did you see on this?
So, as far as I'm concerned, basically companies left and right are kowtowing to China. I mean, you had one company, I think it was Google or iTunes or both, get rid of an app on their Play Store or iTunes store or App Store or whatever. That was a Hong Kong protest locator app for people to go to find protests and assemble at.
Mm-hmm.
They've been actively, just suppressing it in the media, all that kind of good junk. Blizzard company owned China said, "Hey, you trying to edge in on our market that appeals heavily to Chinese people and say some stuff the government will kill us for? No, you're not going to do that. You're going to die." So they basically killed his career and, by extension, probably his chances of ever playing Hearthstone professionally because it takes a lot to risk it to even do that once.
I didn't know that esports had extended to Hearthstone. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I used to love sitting and
Esports is
watching
everywhere.
the StarCraft ones.
It's literally everywhere.
Yeah.
People make all kinds of money, millions of dollars. It's getting bigger and bigger, and soon it'll probably have more prize pool money in the collective industry than the collective of sports.
So we'll wind up
Right,
in the
it's
future
gonna
that
happen.
was laid out in video game high school. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, we are moving ever more closely to the future that is video game high school.
What's
As
that show?
always, you predicted that this will result in a rocket jump skit.
I love that show. I'm pissed they pulled that off Netflix.
I just started showing that to my buddy, because it's on YouTube and I have read, so I'm good. But
Yeah.
I started showing my buddy Kiwi that. He's been having a good time.
Well, and Johanna Brady was really hot before she got anorexic for Quantico, too.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's weird to think about that show is as old as it is, too, right?
Yeah.
Because, like, that show came out in, what, 2014, 13? Or no, earlier.
Quantico? Or video
No,
game high
I'm
school?
talking about VGHS.
12 it was, or rather, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it came out way back in 2012 and ended in 2014. That's crazy to think about. It was over 5 years ago.
But let's get back to the U.S. industries that are bowing down to China at this point here, because the NBA is doing almost the same thing right now. They have a suspension issued against Rockets owner Daryl Morey for tweeting essentially the same thing out as Blitzchung put out in his interview. So, why are these companies doing this? Now, the Rockets I will understand because Yao Ming was one of the Houston Rockets before he retired, and that team is actually really big in the Chinese market because of the fact that Yao Ming was on that. And I know that Blizzard has had some decline among the U.S. market, and I think they were trying to move into the Chinese market because there are so many more people there and so much more potential for the money for it. But, I mean, you're turning your back on your U.S. fans at that point.
You're turning your back on democracy in exchange for money. I think that's just a prime example of what happens when you let the government pick winners and losers. They pick the same kind of soulless motherfuckers who will pick the government over you.
Well said.
And people wonder why this happens and why corporations behave so evilly when at one point the people in charge used to, build libraries and help fund schools.
I don't know. But Matt Parker and Trey Stone, did I get that right order?
No.
No, I got
Trey
it
Parker
back.
and Matt Stone. Trey Parker and Matt Stone from South Park got in trouble because they made the episode Banned in China. That got banned in China.
Yeah, that it did. Have you seen I have not seen the episode yet because I don't
I
have network
haven't.
television.
I took a break from South Park. I watch it in spurts, but this has been a sign to me that I need to go back on my Hulu account and start watching because I think that's where you catch it. But oh my god, South Park is so good. I loved their stuff when the new console generation came out. I loved their stuff for the election. Oh, they're so funny.
And they're very libertarian about everything too.
They
I
are.
like that.
They accepted a reward for like progressive or representative politics or some stupid junk. And then they went and did it, and it's like this left-leaning reward. And then they took it and said, "Yeah, by the way, we're Republicans." Imagine going to a left wing like just this entire elaborate thing. You've got like probably RuPaul sitting in the corner, James Charles grooming a little boy. Not James Charles. I love James Charles. He's actually kind of hilarious. But you've got this thing, and it's just awards for like Trey Parker and Matt Stone for ultimate digital media representation. It's like, yeah, by the way, we're kind of Republicans. The audience could not have been more angry.
Where do you think this
Those
goes?
guys.
This bending the knee to China thing. Where does that go ultimately?
I think that it goes in the direction that we were seeing, which is China get more and more powerful as people start to take not just because of its the nation itself and the government having a lot of power, but more importantly, its economic power. People are totally underplaying the effectiveness that it's going to have on unseating America from being at the top. And we're not going to lose yet, but China's on its way up and up, surpassing it. And that's just the threat that we're facing because they're getting more and more aggressive with their land grabs. They're going to start getting more and more aggressive with their authoritarianism. And you're asking people to kowtow to the actual example of Hobbes' Leviathan. This doesn't end well for anyone. Hobbes was wrong, and so is China.
Well, I will disagree with you on China based on the fact that they're becoming a world power, which they absolutely are. I'll give you that, but I don't think it's as stable as a lot of people think that they do. I look at their economic numbers, what they're doing, and how they're doing it, and they're doing a lot of the same policies that Jimmy Carter and Bill Clinton pushed through while they were respectively in office, and that's doing a lot of growth on credit. China
Yeah,
is
but
doing
at
a
the same
lot of growth
time-
on credit.
Here's the thing: do you know about the Belt and Road Initiative?
No, I don't.
Basically, they're working their own way to having infrastructure developments and also foreign bases and foreign influence, and they're moving it along the west, almost like the Silk Road,
Hmm.
and doing so in a way that gives it control over, say, seaports, land, highways, movement, roads, all kinds of stuff. And honestly, it looks like they're probably going to end up buying up Africa at this rate. Like the next stage of Africa, sadly, is Chinese colonialism now, because I guess they get to be our sloppy, the West sloppy seconds.
Well, yeah,
It's
Africa and
dangerous
the Middle
though,
East
because
have
as long
always
as they
been
keep growing,
colonized.
well, here's the thing: as long as they can keep growing, China will live.
Hmm.
If China stops growing, they will. Yeah, you're right. They'll probably destabilize. But the thing about the Leviathan as it is now is that it can continue growing. It's got room to grow as it is, and it can always just keep grabbing more. Like it's trying. That's why. That's part of the reason it's trying to show its force over Hong Kong. It's about to say, "All right, time to wrap this up. We've had enough of this experiment. It's time to start putting our foot down again." And Hong Kong doesn't want that. They want freedom.
Well, and China has nothing to lose on the Hong Kong aspect of it either. I mean, we talk about the tanks coming to get our guns we talked about in the beginning of that, but technically right now Hong Kong is not Chinese property, so they're not destroying their own infrastructure to try and crush it. Yes, they'll have to come back in and repair that infrastructure after they take it over, if they do take it over, but I mean, if they just blow the shit out of it and still can't manage to keep it, then they've just left Hong Kong with a shitty country that needs constant repair.
Exactly. It's just, yeah, it's just not going to end in a good way. That's my issue. I just don't think it'll end well.
Let's check back in with the live chat here, and we'll talk a bit about Syria here going on. JFry's caps lock is only for the streams where comments aren't read. So, I don't know how that goes. Mandarin is the official language of China. Cantonese is the language spoken by most people in Hong Kong. Thank you for that. U.S. companies bowing to China to protect huge money that they make from the Chinese. Strange that they do that and then choose SJW campaigns here. Loons. So that is what we've got on that. Let's talk about Syria. Now, one of the biggest stories of the news this week, because the impeachment thing is collapsing and we haven't seen the debate yet, which I'm actually interested to see the debate now the Syria thing is on the table and Democrats are now demanding that we stay in Syria. But Trump ordered a reposition of the troops. Now, he's not pulling troops out of Syria. He is moving them to away from the Turkish border and back out towards the north part of the country, but he's not ordering them out yet. And the war hawks.
Why not?
Well,
come on.
Yeah, that's
just Trump. Just do it already. Just do it. Get him out of there, buddy.
Yeah. Well, the war hawks, like Shapiro, have immediately called out and said that we are abandoning the Kurds, who are our allies in the region. And Shapiro's especially angry about all of this. But I don't.
Gang, alright, the idea. that we're not going to be out there, especially just exerting our internal force on Syria, just controlling the nation and making it the 51st state, but it's not. It's totally a slave territory. I mean, we don't do anything like that. You know, we're good people. Frankly, not supporting that is ridiculous. Yeah, no, it's
We need to get out of the Middle East. I don't care about that region any more than I did a year ago, than 5 years ago, 10 years ago. The Middle East has no effect on my life.
The only time the Middle East has really had an effect on our lives is when a cell out of an independent cell that was stationed in Afghanistan that was funded partially by Turkey and Syria sent a bunch of people over here to learn how to fly 747s and flew them into an airplanes. That is legitimately the most effect the Middle East has ever had on any of our lives directly.
Yeah, and yeah, like 9/11 was terrible. We've done our part though. 9/11 tragedy has been dealt. That issue is no longer of our concern. We need to just leave. We're done. It's time to go home. Frankly, it's time to go home for most of the world. We should be a lot more non-interventionist in all things. War is on the downtrend, and it's gonna keep going down. Hopefully, at least. We'd like a more peaceful world. So let's hope we can get there. But at the very least, being out there causing conflict and causing resentment isn't gonna solve our problem.
Well, in pulling out, a lot of people right now are arguing the fact that this caused a conflict because Turkey immediately turned around and invaded Kurdistan and Syria as soon as the troops were backed away. In fact, the writing was on the wall that they were already planning on doing this, which I'm not sure why they want to do that, because that leaves, with the force that they would need to take down Syria and Kurdistan, they are leaving their back flank open with war-happy and war-hungry Iran sitting on the other side of them.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe they're just trying to take a slice, but who knows? Maybe they're just going for a slice grab. Maybe they're not trying to grab the whole nation, but best of luck to them. That's the issue. The problem solves itself. If Turkey overextends, then Iran can just go in and hurt Turkey. And then suddenly Turkey's in trouble and Iraq's in trouble. And people might say, well, even though Turkey, they're better at least, why should we let them go fall to Iran? We don't like Iran. We don't like Iran only because they don't like us, because we treated them like shit.
And the whole Persia-Israel thing, too.
Yeah, that kind of was a big deal.
But let's look at it geographically, the other side of it. I mean, Syria is right next to Lebanon, which is next to Israel. So should Turkey, for whatever reason, occupy Syria? Should they actually take down Syria, knock them down, and make an occupation there? Now they're sitting there next to Libyans who hate them. And Israel is suddenly right there within striking distance of Turkey as well, which has its own issues with the Byzantine Empire.
Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, this is politically, I cannot see the advantage of any of this on Turkey's end of it. Except for the fact that one of the conversations that we kept hearing throughout this week is the fact that Erdogan, I believe is the name of the president of Turkey, is trying to reenact the Byzantine Empire, trying to take the land that was once rightfully part of that empire and try and rebuild it again, make it a world power again. But that seems pretty ambitious, especially in that region.
Good luck.
Will we ever get a full pull out of the Middle East? Is that ever going to happen?
God, I wish everyone should be pulling out more, but gosh, not even a chuckle. I see how it is. No, but in all actuality, eventually, but I doubt it's going to be something in the near future, simply because right now there's not enough of a political motive to get out, and there's too much monetarily keeping us in with the military-industrial complex.
Halliburton and oil. That seems to be what's keeping us there. But we're tapping our own oil over here. I don't understand why that is still an issue. It is still. I understand that, but
it's not even just oil. It's funding the military itself. It's money, dark money, from PMCs basically funding politicians who, in turn, fund extended defense budgets that allow for ridiculous over expenditure on stupid stuff that just gets paid for through PMCs to do. It's cyclical. Once again, we see corporations using the government to take advantage of winning and losing.
And one thing I want to ask, and this is kind of a rephrase of the question that I put at the end of the show notes here, is I mean, we've been in the Middle East in various countries for 20 years at this point, continuously. We had a large pullout under a Clinton administration, but we still had bases over there. A lot of people blame that pullout and the fact that we left Air Force bases unoccupied over there on sacred land as the reason that we got 9/11 over here in the first place. But if we stayed over there for 2 decades at this point, how long before we colonize? How long before that becomes the next U.S. colony, the next territory?
Doubt it. I just don't think that's actually. I was memeing earlier. I don't think it'll come to that. I just don't think that's not how politically it's seen.
All right. Well, I'm going to check back with the live chat for one more moment here for the last time, and then we're going to run the outro here. Oh, that's great. We have one last comment from the live chat, and it says, it's Ron Helton says, Shapiro is an Israel firster, which he absolutely is. All right. So politics is a divisive topic. We've seen hatred. We've seen people lose friends and family over that. So I always try to end the show on a positive note. So tell me about a hobby that you have that has nothing to do with work or politics. It could be an album that you picked up, a new video game that you're trying, an instrument that you love to play, just something that helps you wind down after you've got done talking about politics and memeing for the day.
See, the thing about that spiel is I can't even do video games because that's also work. But as far as games, I've been enjoying both on and off stream Destiny 2. The new Shadowkeep DLC just came out, and I've been grinding that. It's so fun, Jed. It is so fun. I've been grinding hour after hour in that, just having the time of my life. It's like I'm playing vanilla WoW, and that's out too. I haven't even tried that, but
that's
outside of that, I airsoft. I guess that's the one cool hobby I do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I mean, you've come up here to do airsoft before.
Yeah, I've gone up there for once in a blue moon for airsoft, and then most of it's in Illinois, but fun stuff.
All right, well, thanks for coming on and helping me out with this show. Like I say, it's been a long time. I should have invited you on here months ago, but things happen, and you know, I think about it, and then somebody else gets scheduled. But we'll definitely get you back on again here. If you want to finish the conversation with me and we didn't get your question read in the live chat, or you come up with something after the fact, you can find me on Twitter. That is at edsblogtwitter with a 1 in place of the I. You can email me at edsblogtwitter@gmail.com, or there is a series of other links down in the description below that you can go and find me at. Now, Jack, your links are all linked down there as well, but why don't you tell people where they can find you, especially if they're listening back on audio?
We can find me on twitter.com over at Jack H. Stalker. I'll let you guess what the H. You're wrong. So then we have twitch.tv/streamliberty. You can find me there, streaming all kinds of games. I typically stream on Mondays, on Fridays, and Saturdays. That schedule is iffy, but I'm trying to stick to it. Probably gonna be one later today, but there will. And then you can also find me over on YouTube at youtube.com /user/Eisenfire, AICENFEIR. I don't know if that's actually it, but that's my name. It's impossible to find me, so I don't know if you'll even be able to, because for some reason, every time I try to search my name, it becomes harder and harder to find me.
But it is linked down in the description below. And as you're going by to go and check on that description there, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, and if you have not subscribed yet already, hit that subscribe button. The algorithms on YouTube are funny, and that always helps us move up the algorithms as well. So, and you can do the same over on BitChute as well. The description is going to be the same over there. You can like and subscribe over there as well. Once again, we will be available on Tuesday morning for the audio platforms, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play. Remember, if you are over on iTunes, make sure you hit that 5-star rating and a good review. That helps us move up the charts. Lastly, Ed's World is proudly partnered with the Freedom Scoop Media Group. You can find this show over there. You can find other great shows like The Daily Ignoramus and The Generational Gap. Go over there and check them out. And we are holding open casting for writers. So if you'd like to write for a political site that is free speech centered, go ahead and drop me an email at the email I sent below, or send me a tweet and we'll get you an article. We'll get it written out there and we'll see if we can't get you up on the site. As we always say on this show, never take the words of bloggers, podcasters, or journalists as gospel. Find all the facts and draw your own conclusions, Jack. You have the last word.
Sub with Prime, sub with Prime, sub with Prime, sub with Prime. That is all.
Take care, everyone.
Sub with Prime.